Hello, my fellow supports. HotRod08 here, and welcome to another episode of SupportCraft, where we take a look at new, possibly unconventional builds for support champions during Season 8. Now, for this video, we're going to be going over my most played support during the last couple months, and that is going to be Pyke. Now, I've learned a lot playing over 180 ranked games with him, so I'm going to teach you guys exactly what to build each game, what you should be thinking of. So we're going to be first talking about his rune set and what you should be changing between games. Second, we're going to be talking about his items for each game. And third, we're going to be talking about his skill set. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting off with the rune choices, our primary path we're going to be taking is going to be the Resolve tree, and the secondary path we're going to be taking is going to be the Domination tree. And together that's going to provide Pyke an additional 5 attack damage, plus 1535 scaling health, which converts to an additional 1 to 9 attack damage. Our primary keystone we're going to be taking is going to be Aftershock, which is going to provide a Pyke an additional 70 to 120 magic resist for 2.5 seconds, plus a little bit of extra magic damage whenever he either initiates in the laning phase with his Q or E, or in a team fight. It's going to also give him that durability in order to survive and not get fully bursted down. Our greater rune we're going to be going with is going to be Bone Plating, which is going to provide Pyke an additional 15 to 40 less damage for the next 3 hits he takes, which is going to provide him some nice durability in the laning phase especially, so he can keep nice and healthy when he does initiate fights. And our lesser runes we're going to be taking is going to be Second Wind and Revitalize. Now, Second Wind is going to provide you some additional sustain in the laning phase. Whenever you get hit, you're going to heal for 4% of your missing health, plus 6 over 10 seconds. So it's going to add some nice regeneration for him in the laning phase along with his passive. And then we're going to complement that with Revitalize, which is going to give him some additional sustain to both himself and when you're taking the Relic Shield to your AD carry in the laning phase. It's going to keep you both nice and healthy. Now, these are the runes that you can switch up depending on the game, such as instead of taking Second Wind, if you don't need the sustain in the laning phase, such as if you're facing against an Alistar or Leona, you can take something like Conditioning, which can give you some extra durability in the mid to late game, or you can even take Chrysalis, which will at the beginning of the game give you an extra 4 AD, and then once you get those 4 kills or assists, will give you an additional 9 AD instead. But with the Revitalize as well, I wouldn't really take Overgrowth, but if you need some extra tenacity, if you're facing really heavy CC comp like Morgana or Leona, you might very well instead take Unflinching, which will give you some additional tenacity that can keep you alive during the laning phase and in team fights. And for our secondary runes, we're going to be taking Eyeball Collection and Relentless Hunter. Now, Eyeball Collection is going to give you a maximum of 18 extra attack damage once you get it fully stacked up, and the Relentless Hunter is going to give you some extra out-of-combat movement speed, as Pyke really needs the extra mobility. Now, one of the runes you can change if you need to is you can switch the Eyeball Collection to Ghost Poro if you need a little bit of extra vision in the laning phase. They have a really aggressive jungler, such as like a Kayn that you really need to get some extra vision for. During the laning phase, you can go that Ghost Poro instead. Keep yourself just a little bit more protected. Getting into our item set, you're going to want to start off the game with Relic Shield and 2 health pots, as well as your Warding Tome. Now, I take Relic Shield over Ancient Coin just because, as the game goes, once you get that maxed out to Remnant of the Aspect later on in the game, it's going to give Pyke some vital AD early in the game. He does need at least some AD early in his build, and this is going to give it to him. It also gives himself and his AD carry some sustain with the runes that you picked earlier, so that is why I pick Relic Shield over Coin. Getting into your first backs into the game, you're going to want to upgrade to Targon's Brace immediately for the extra AD, as well as gold generation. Then you want to get your Boots of Mobility. Now, Boots of Mobility is really good on Pyke. As I said earlier, he really needs that mobility to get around the map. It lets you roam to other lanes, lets you ward up the river, it lets you catch up to team fights faster that are going on early in the game, and Pyke is an early AD support champion that really needs to snowball the game, so the Boots of Mobility this early really helps him out. After you get those Boots of Mobility, you're going to want to upgrade to your Remnant of the Aspect in order to get that additional attack damage to Pyke, as well as that extra gold generation. And then finally, you'll want to get your Control Wards and your Oracle Lens whenever you do get the wards from that, and when you do need extra vision. Now, as for the alternate boot choices, if they have a lot of CC on the enemy team and you're going to just get caught and you're going to get rooted to the ground far too long, you can also go those Mercury treads to keep yourself alive. And if they have almost all AD team comp, you can go Ninja Tabi instead. Now, Pyke has a lot of different builds, and you're going to have to choose the item that you need depending on what the enemy team comp is. So I would say your core items, that you're not going to build all of these in the same game, but this is going to be what you need to consider. You need to consider going Frozen Heart, Black Cleaver, Dead Man's Plate, and or Hexdrinker. Now, I'm going to switch that here, because these two are really your core items that you want to build each game. These are the ones that you're going to alternate depending on the enemy team comp. So as long as the enemies have, like, an 80 carry champion that's auto-based, like Jinx or Tristan or someone like that, Twitch, and if they at least have one or two other 80 champions on the enemy team that you can get the armor benefit from, Frozen Heart is a really, really good item, as it gives you 100 armor, which is insane. That 20% cooldown reduction, which Pyke really needs that cooldown reduction, and the mana also helps him spam his abilities too. And then finally, that unique aura that reduces the attack speed of nearby enemies by 15%. Now, that isn't just the bonus attack speed that they get. It combines all the attack speed that they have and just reduces that by 15%. So it really hurts auto-based 80 carries, so it's a really good item, and not too many other supports can truly build it. So Frozen Heart is your must. Now, if the enemies have a lot of magic damage on the team, you can also pick up that Hexdrinker either before the Frozen Heart or afterwards. Even if they just have like two magic dealers on the enemy team, I would get that Hexdrinker just because it gives some. It is very, very gold reliant or efficient item. For just 1,300 gold, you get that 20 attack damage, that 35 magic resist, and that extra magic resist shield that it gives you, which is a really, really good. So these are going to be your two core items that you want to get almost every game, unless if they don't have enough AD champions to warrant the Frozen Heart, or they don't have enough AP champions to warrant the Hexdrinker. The other couple options, if you don't get the Frozen Heart, you really should get the Black Cleaver first. This is going to give you that 20% cooldown reduction still, and it's going to give you a lot of attack damage. It's going to give you between that 400 health and the 40 attack damage. It'll give you just a little bit above 70 attack damage, which is really nice. And then it shreds the enemy's armors, which will make the other attack damage carries on your team do really well. Now, finally, if they don't have like auto attack reliant enemy champions, like if they have an Israel, which really isn't auto attack based, he's more AD focused, but you still need the armor, I would really go Dead Man's Plate first. It's really nice. It gives you some nice attack damage. I think with the health, it gives you about 31, 32 attack damage, and it'll give you that 60 armor. And then it's going to give you even more mobility, because once you get those stacks to 100, it's going to give you up to 60 extra movement speed. And then when you basic attack an enemy, it's going to do 100 extra magic damage. It's also going to slow them down by 50% for 1 second. So it's a really good item. If you don't need that Frozen Heart first, you can think about going that Dead Man's Plate. Now, as for the varied finishing items that you can go on Pyke, if they have a lot of magic damage, sometimes I'll complete the Hexdrinker, then go the Frozen Heart, and then finish off with the Maw of Malmortius, just because it's such a good item. It gives you some really nice extra magic resist, extra attack damage. It does give you that cooldown reduction at that point, and then it gives you an even bigger shield when you take magic damage from the enemies, and it also gives you, when that triggers, it gives you some extra attack damage, and it gives you extra life steal and spell vamp, which can help your sustain until you get out of combat. Now, if you have that one ally on your team that's doing really, really well, let's say that your team's not doing the best, but you have that Vayne that is just sticking out. She's the one that you need to carry the game. Or if it's another, like it's an Irelia that's carrying the game, you need that one person to stay alive. Knight's Vow is going to be a really good item for you to pick up. So if your team is relying on one person basically that needs to stay alive in order to win the game, Knight's Vow is going to be what you need to go. If you need some extra armor, Zeke's Convergence is also an idea that you can go. It gives you that extra armor and magic resist. And it does give you cooldown reduction, some mana as well. I don't go Zeke's Convergence too often, but if you have that, if you have that one person that really needs to carry the fight, and it's auto-based, like a Vayne, yet again, you can put both Knight's Vow and Zeke's Convergence on that person. It's going to give them such insane durability, sustain, and it's also going to give them some extra attack damage, so you can also think of that, the Zeke's Convergence. If you need that one person to stay alive, too, if they have a lot of CC, you can also consider going that Mikael's Crucible. Now, you're not going to get the really the benefit out of that 15% heal and shield power, but that extra magic resist, the cooldown reduction, the base mana regen you can use, as well as that CC removal that you can give an ally. I don't build Mikael's too often, but it is another option. You can go Randuin's Omen instead of going the Dead Man's Play if they have a lot of crit focus champions on the enemy team. That's an option too. If you need extra magic resist, you can go either Spirit Visage or the Mercurial Scimitar. If you need just pure defensive abilities with a little bit extra attack damage and you want that regen on your passive better, you can go that Spirit Visage. If you need to remove yourself from the CC, Mercurial Scimitar is a good idea too. And then finally, if you just need some extra damage, if you're the one yourself carrying the game, you can either go Duskblade, or you can go Lord Dominik's, or even more Reminder, depending on what your team needs. And you yourself can start becoming the damage carry on your team. And finally, we're going to talk about the skill set we're going to be taking on for Pyke. At your level 1, you're going to want to put a point into your Q, your Bone Skewer, which is going to be your bread and butter ability throughout the entire game. Going to be able to both do extra damage to enemies, as well as throw enemy champions into your allies for picks. At level 2, you're going to want to put a point in Fam Undertow, which is going to be your ability to dash and to stun enemy champions. Those two work really well together. At level 3 and level 4, it can vary between your games. If you want some extra damage with your Q at level 3, you can put a second point into your Q, or if you want the extra mobility, you can put a point into your W instead, which is going to be your Ghost Water Dive, which is going to give you some extra mobility as well as invisibility. So between those two, you can decide which ones you want, level 3 and 4, and switch depending. You're going to be taking your ultimate at level 6, 11, and 16, obviously, with maxing out your Q, your Bone Skewer first, your E, your Phantom Undertow second, and then finally your W, your Ghost Water Dive at last. And that's going to be it for this SupportCraft video. I really hope you enjoyed this build. I love playing Pyke, so I hope this works out really well for you guys. If you have any questions about this build, feel free to comment in the comment sections below. I would love to help you out. If you're enjoying my content and want to consider supporting the channel, head over to my Patreon. There you can enjoy perks such as early releases of some of my videos, having me look at your op.gg and giving you suggestions, and having your name shout out at the end of my videos like these lovely people here who are already contributing to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, I feature support-focused League of Legends content that I release on a weekly basis. Would love your support. I've also started to stream on YouTube on Mondays and Thursdays from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you'd love to learn how to play support better from a high-tier support player and have your questions answered as I'm playing, I would love to have you on the stream. If you enjoyed this video, please like it as it really helps me out, and hit that notification bell next to the subscribe button to keep up with the latest content that I release. But rather than that, you guys have a great day today. Thanks much.